illuminating white text appears that says, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Now, curvy golden yellow text stationary in the middle of the screen with stars flying by through hyperspace that reads, "Theory of a Blind Man." Golden yellow text begins to crawl from the bottom of the screen upwards. Episode 2, The Live Stream Strikes Back. After the separation of content uploads and live streams, this channel is dedicated to live streaming guests, gaming, proclivities and pondering of the fate of the galaxy. Darth Whistler reigns over these channels and his message will be heard with the help of many others presenting information for all to absorb. The text continues to crawl away from view deep into the infinity of space. For those of you willing to watch and listen to live streaming and participate in the chat, the live stream strikes back at a new upload channel with prizes and galactic credits to make you rebels come rich beyond your wildest dreams. But Darth Whistler is not satisfied until the triad of the Force has been completed, and so there lays another in wait deep in space and will soon be revealed. May the dark side of the Force be with you. As the last of the text disappears, we are left with stars flying by view in hyperspace, then fade to black.
Okay, everybody, refresh your browser so you can see the new title of the video. We've got a bit of change of plans. There may have been a miscommunication between myself and Super Blind Man, but originally it was scheduled for 3:30. I haven't heard from him since I responded to his email regarding the time. So I just went ahead with it anyway. And hey, we could always talk about something else, right? I could invite anybody in the chat like SSHB. You could come into my darling. Or who else is here? Oh, look at that. Blind Toes is here. We don't want no Blind Toes. We don't want no Blind Toe. Or whoever else wants to join. So if you'd like to, let me know in the chat. Email me or message me or tweet me. Whatever. Let me know. I got to witness 8 seconds of the most humiliating cover song by a drunk lady this morning. It was amazing. Okay. I'm pretty amped up for absolutely nothing. But hey, should be a good show, I think. Not necessarily a show, but I'm gonna hang out with y'all. Let's see who's in the chat, shall we? There's Blind Toes. What's up? Say Red 75. Say bye. What's up, Toes? Blind Toes. What's up, girlfriend? Wow. Yeah, I know, totally. Oh, I still have this window open. My bad. Let's go ahead and close that. Thank you. And even though we are live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube, anybody can join. Let's do solo layout for just me, because I am the only one here. Yep, only one here. All right, hit into the chat on StreamYard. Now, 7 here. That means there's going to be more here for another great show. Oh, I didn't see that one before. What happened to that one? Hey. So there's definitely different chats in here. That's interesting. What's up, Toes? Read that one. One Toes, a girlfriend. Read that one. Wow. Got that one. Why did it say 7? That's weird. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to announce this now. I'm going to primarily focus on the YouTube chat. So if you're watching or listening on Facebook or Periscope, be sure to head over to the YouTube link so you can participate in the chat. It just makes things a lot easier on me. And, well, hey, I'm lazy. Go fuck yourself. So, Nicole, Blind Toes, you guys want to come in? We can just chit-chat for about an hour. More than welcome to. Matter of fact, I'll get an email started just in case you do. Leave, invite, email. Join me on StreamYard. Yep, that one. And 2. Yes. Okay. So that's ready. Just in case. Just in case. Oh, Jesus. Today's been interesting. I don't know where it came from, but it got up to 106 already today. That's pretty crazy. It's been like the low 90s here the last week or so. So we're done ethnically speaking. What's going on, y'all? I have nothing really. Oh, okay. So, a little update on the studio. The desk did not work. Anyway, gotta return it. Nowhere near big enough. So I actually had someone else help me find exactly what I want. It's a 72 by 77 or 72. Anyway, we'll just say 72. 72 by 72, and it's L-shaped. And the bottom part of the L shape, which would go on my right side, which is where I want it, is going to be the perfect height, depth, width. And so I'm actually going to be rearranging the studio. I'm actually going to have the window behind me to let some natural light in, because right now, to my right, it's covered. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 4 by 7, or I think they come in 4 by 7s or 4 by 8 planks of plywood, and I'll cut it down to 6.5 feet. So it'll be 4 by 6.5. I'm gonna get 4 of those planks. I'm literally gonna build my own studio, and I'm going to insulate foam, sound foam, the moving carpet on that, and make a nice little soundproof studio. So it'll be a lot better, I think. Just really good day hanging out with Kid. Well, cool. That's what Saturdays are all about. Ugh. I guess I'll join. I'll have to get my ass out of bed first. Got in bed to charge the phone. Oh, well, thank you. Much appreciated. Oh, you are here, Brandon. Okay, I don't see you in the, Yeah, you're not. I sent you the link. Check your email. So hold on, Nicole. You may not need to come in. Well, actually, you could join us if you got some additional questions from the other side. Then you can join. Brandon, so yeah, check your email. I sent you the email about 3:12-ish p.m. Pacific time. So you'll just click on that link, and then it'll put you into the backstage, and then I bring you in. So go ahead and look for that email. So I guess we'll just wait for Brand. Oh wait, let me see that. Send that email. Don't worry, Blind Toads. You can just ignore it since you were the kiddo. So there you go, Nicole. More than welcome to join us if you'd like. Oh, thank you, YouTube. Now I'm live on my channel. Great, awesome. Thanks. There's me, and I'm not quite sure how you're going to join, Brandon, but whatever it is, just make sure you allow microphone and video access, and then we'll be good to go. Do 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 do. Awesome, Blind Toes. Hold on to those questions. We will definitely get to them. Oh, I gotta change the stream name again. Okay. Steal the show hyphen at SUPERBLANDAN. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Save. YouTube's gonna be like, why are you changing the name of your stream so much? What the hell's wrong with you? I'm not gonna join to shit. Okay, Nicole. That's okay. But thank you anyway. It would make things a lot more interesting. Okay. Do 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 do. Bum, 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 ba-dum. I got that song stuck in my head. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna listen to that until he gets here. Cause I love it. I don't know why. I'm not gonna join. Nah, nah, nah. Nah. Can someone check Streamlabs for me? I'm curious now. I don't know why. I shouldn't be. I should just let it go. So I'm gonna have my studio really planned out. I'm actually gonna butt up the plywood walls right up to the desk. So it'll be the desk and my green screen. That'll be what's visible. So I think it's gonna work out really nicely. Because then I'll have more room for like a waiting area for like a small cat, like a little 2-person couch or a little table or something. But it's gonna be really cool. We'll have the breaking engines. That sucks. There it is. All right, it's working again. Or still, should I say? That's crazy. I don't get it. Yeah, you got a ways to go, Blind Toes. You got ways to go. There's me. I'm still not here. Now, I don't want to cut out, Brandon, if you're listening, I don't want to cut out a bunch of your time. So if you'd like to reschedule, that is not a problem. We could shoot for next Saturday just as easily as, cutting out your time today. Oh, never mind. There he is. Let me bring him in. Yep. There we go. Add to stream. Hey there, Brandon. How's it going?
Greetings, my friend.
How you doing? Right on. Got some little bit of a Jean-Luc Picard going on. Nice.
I can do more than that. I mean, I'm a voice actor on the side, so there's that.
Oh, sweet. That is awesome. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And if you've seen any previous episodes, oh, actually, yeah, you did. You saw.
I did. Yeah, I did.
So then you'll get the concept of the first part, which is you get 30 seconds to a minute to promote yourself in any way you seem fit, and that clip will go up on a new upload channel under the Steelers Show self promos, and then I will also send you a link to download that clip so you may use it for whatever you wish.
Cool.
Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, I'm going to mute myself, and then when the music starts, it's all yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon Cole. Some of you know me as Super Blind Man. I am a creature of many hats. I'm a blogger, a streamer, a content creator, a YouTuber, a whole bunch of different things, podcaster, blah, 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 blah. But most importantly, I am a blind accessibility consultant and advocate in the video game industry, working to make games more accessible to the totally blind and visually impaired as well. And believe me when I say, I've done a lot of that. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but trust me when I say there's a lot of good things in the future for the blind and visually impaired community. And I'm honored to be on the show. I'm honored to be part of the work that I do, doing what I do, to make things a little more accessible for us as a whole.
All right, thank you. That was cool, and that's exactly. Oh, that's cool. I was playing Grand Theft Auto too.
I know.
Yeah,
I noticed. Believe me.
The gaming industry has really come around in the last I'd say 5 years. They've started to pay attention. Of course, like your name and Twitter says, The Last of Us Part 2 is just shot way ahead of the curve.
Yes, it is.
And so, yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, yes.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and tell us about that and how you got that started and why.
My YouTube channel is youtube.com/superblindman, because of course it is, because I'm Superblindman basically everywhere. And that got started mostly just because I wanted to, originally, the only reason I had it is because I wanted to show myself playing video games. Just that was the entire purpose. Just be a content creator, occasionally upload a video with me playing a game. That was the entire purpose behind it. Now it's become much more important because now it's much more of an archive of the streams that I do. And the streams that I do on Twitch, again, twitch.tv/superblindman, the streams that I do are there to entertain people, of course, but they're also there to educate about accessibility and teach people about the kind of work that I do and how games are played if you're blind and things like that. And those videos are, for the most part, archived on YouTube.
Nice. And Nicole adds to that. She says, your work is definitely being noticed. Even one of her coworkers had asked if she knew a couple days ago. So that's really cool.
Aha!
As far as the accessibility goes, how did you get into the advocacy of it? Was it something that you were experiencing yourself? Like a lot of us, like, oh my God, I really want to play this, but I can't. And then where do you go? It's like, who do you talk to?
Well, sure. Obviously, I was experiencing it myself because we all do. When every time a AAA game trailer comes out, we're all like, "Oh my God, sounds amazing! Why can't I play this? Why?" But I got that. But really, what happened was, I have my brain has been working all the time ever since I started in my gaming career. My brain has always been spinning about how I could play this game or how I could play that game. And my fiance, Misty, who I would tell these things to, and I would come up with these ideas of how this game could be accessible, and I would tell her these things. And way back in 2005, she finally said, you should blog. And my initial response was, I don't blog. I don't know what you're talking about. But she did eventually convince me, and I started a blog, and I started writing down the things that I was thinking of about video games and my ideas and such. And at first, I did it very sporadically. It was not very well maintained, but it was enough that some people did notice what I was writing, and some people took notice. And eventually, it took a long time, but eventually, in 2014, I was invited to the Game Developers Conference, GDC,
Nice.
which is a big conference of game developers, primarily just developers. Not really. Usually, people that aren't game developers or involved in the game industry are not invited, but I was to be on a panel about accessibility, to be the blind gamer perspective on the panel.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I did that panel, and that panel went over really well. Even in 2014, when accessibility was still a very much a beginning discussion in the game industry,
Mm-hmm.
the panel went really well. I was complimented 1,000 times on my part of the panel, and so apparently I did really well. But that panel introduced me to another guy named Ian Hamilton, who, if you're
Oh,
in,
yes.
yeah, if you're
Yes,
in the
yes.
advocacy industry, Ian Hamilton is a champion of advocacy
Yeah.
for all disabilities, not just blindness, everything. And he was intrigued apparently by my performance and by me, I guess, because then in 2017 he invited me to the very first ever game accessibility conference, the first official game accessibility conference in San Francisco. And I went to do that, and that was where it kind of hit me. That for me personally, that's
Mm-hmm.
when I decided, when I was making that speech on that stage in front of game developers who were there at that conference to learn about accessibility. That's when I decided that this is what I wanted to do, and I never looked back. I'm very, very happy with where I am in life right now.
Nice. Yeah, Ian is definitely on my list to get on here and talk a little bit more about advocacy. As far as that panel goes for the game developers game developers conference, um, you said they were very very impressed with you. How do you feel, and how has um, the time that has elapsed since then? How does it seem that they have received your input as far as an accessibility advocate goes, and does it seem like they've implemented anything or want to?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with the shining light that is The Last of Us Part 2,
Oh yeah.
because that is a project that I worked directly on. So
Oh, as it was being developed.
yeah, I
Nice.
I was involved in the entire development process of that game. The and this is I promise you, when I say the following, it is not bragging, it is actually true. The reason that game is blind accessible is me.
Nice.
I am directly
Well done.
responsible for many features that exist in that game.
Well, I hear from a lot of people just how awesome it is for a totally blind person to play.
Yep, I was involved from the beginning. 2017. In fact, I mentioned the Game Accessibility Conference speech. It was that speech where they noticed me. Naughty Dog noticed me,
Mm-hmm.
and then they approached me after that speech was over, and we got to talking for about an hour that night. And a couple weeks later, after I'd already gone home, I didn't know even then that anything was going to happen. But a couple weeks later, they sent me an email and said, "Hey, we'd like to fly you down to the studio to talk to the full team." And
Awesome.
that led to me being hired by them for the next 3 years.
That is really cool. Okay, so since I got you on, there's a lot of people that don't know about how development works. So, could you give kind of a explanation of the differences between a game that's already been developed and trying to
Yep.
make it accessible, and
Yep.
vice versa?
Yep, absolutely. So that is one truth that people have a lot of trouble understanding, is that accessibility is way more difficult to patch into a game
Yep.
than it is to build from the ground up. If you're thinking about accessibility from the beginning, then it'll be much easier to create, because you're going to make the systems for it. You're going to make the engines for it. You're not going to try to recode them to allow for accessibility.
Mm-hmm. Because you
And
start getting
adding,
into glitches and conflicts too
yeah,
when you do it
right,
that
right,
way.
right. Not only that, but adding things is a lot more troublesome than anyone seems to realize. And I don't blame them, because not everyone's in the game development industry,
Right.
and not everyone has had the peak that I've had into what these coders have to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
the thing about doing this work is you have to be willing to think outside the box, and you have to be willing to compromise. And a lot of that comes from listening to what they're talking about doing and the ways they're going to approach it, and even the arguments against it. And you have to be willing to take all that information and say, okay, well, let's compromise, let's talk about it, here's what we can actually do. Because the thing is, everything in game development is very, very strictly structured, even in terms of how much memory is allowed for certain aspects of a game during each individual load.
Hmm.
So if we're talking about trying to patch in accessibility to a game, let's say Last of Us 2 didn't have any accessibility when it first launched, and now
Okay.
we want to patch in all the audio cues that are in the game now. Odds
Okay.
are we couldn't do it, and the reason is because on PS4, only a certain amount of memory is allocated to sound at all. Um,
Oh,
so and if the game had
so it's
come
the
out,
console itself
it's
that
limitations of the
restricts.
console. It's a combination of
Wow.
limitations of the console and guidelines set forth by the major developer, like
Okay.
in this case Sony. this is when you develop PS4 games. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do. Like the developers of these games know these things. And so only a certain amount of memory is allowed for sound. So if you had already released the game, you couldn't just add audio cues to it because you probably would have wanted to optimize, the sound in the game to make it as good as it could be. So you probably have already used up all that memory.
Wow.
Because you weren't, because in our scenario here, you weren't thinking about adding in audio cues later. You thought you were done. So you probably already used it all up and you have nothing to spend left. You know what I'm saying? So
when you make
that's just one example.
yeah, no doubt. So I'm thinking, let's take. Have you heard the game Escape from Tarkov?
Yeah, I'm actually not a huge fan of it, but I've heard of it. I know what it is.
But you realize how, maybe not, but for me, when I listen to someone play that game, the audio in it, the almost 3D stereo surround is phenomenal. So
yeah,
let's say
I acknowledge that.
Let's say you take that game, Sony or whoever produces it on a console, and you've got to add those audio cues as well. How much does that take away from the game's sound?
So it actually doesn't really. Here's my thinking about that, and this has been echoed by some other people who have played the game. Mm-hmm. Typically, especially in the case of Last of Us 2, where it actually happened, the sounds don't interfere with the game because if they didn't exist in the game, then we couldn't play the game. It was like it kind of becomes part of the expected experience, and it is our game to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it doesn't take away from it because it is what is creating the game. The existence of these audio cues, the way they're positionally placed. Everything is part of it to us.
So it's not like an individual. What I'm trying to get to is you're saying they've got some. Okay, how about numbers? How much RAM, or excuse me, how much memory is actually allocated for sound on a game?
Not a lot, but again, it depends on the platform too. Like PC, there are virtually no limits because anyone can have any PC.
Right.
With the next generation of consoles, the limit is much, much, much higher.
Okay.
The Sony
PS5.
has already announced. Yeah, PS5. Sony has already announced that the PS5 has a dedicated audio chip now, which is as powerful as the PS4's processor chip, just for audio.
That's another thing too that blows my mind, is just how quickly that technology, especially in game consoles or even gaming PCs, how quickly they're advancing.
Yeah, and don't forget, PS5 has also announced the Tempest 3D audio engine, where their games will, on the console level, support 3D audio. It's a beautiful time to be a gamer right now.
Absolutely. I agree. Now that I got you on the air, live, face-to-face, do you play Swamp?
I used to. I actually should get back into that game. It's been a long time since I played it, but I have played it. I was decent at it for a while.
I just recently got it, well, maybe like 6 months ago, but I want to create my own maps, and no one that I can get a hold of has the map editor.
Oh man, I don't have it. I definitely don't have it.
All right, show's over.
I definitely don't have it. It's been too long, man. It's been too long.
What obstacles do you see yourself facing when trying to either pitch accessibility to? Do you actually go to a game developer? Let's say they announce a game. Well, I guess it's already too late at that point. How do you get the attention of developers, AAA studios, to incorporate accessibility?
I will fully admit that I've been very lucky.
Okay.
I have, because of the things that I've done, including The Last of Us Part 2, because of that, they approach me now.
That's cool, dude. That's like gold
I've
ribbon
reached
on
that
your
level.
wall.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I'm gonna check the chat really quick. I am sold. I'll subscribe after. And that was like 20 minutes ago. So you got a new subscriber. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
all right.
Yes, Danny McMcKenna's in the chat too. Welcome. He's across the pond. He sounds cool. Wow, awesome. Blind Toes. Nicole, so well spoken. Love the enthusiasm.
That's one of the things I'm known for. I'm very passionate about this stuff. It means a lot to me to do this work. So
yeah, there's so much, and it's so broad. Like you're saying, Ian works on more disability awareness, accessibility as a whole. And again, we'll go back to The Last of Us Part 2 because it's the only real precedent we have. It's
the best example right now.
Yeah.
There is no better example.
Right. And it's got, what, over 60, 63, 64 accessibility features, something like that.
60 plus accessibility options, yeah.
That's just
And that's not just,
incredible.
but just so people understand, that is throughout the gamut of disabilities. That's not just for
Yeah.
blindness. It's for motor impairments, cognitive impairments, vision impairments, low vision and blindness. I mean,
Hmm.
it's all over the place.
Is what goes into developing something like that? Like you always have to do trials, surveys, and testing with all of those types of disabilities.
Yeah, and that's what they did. They brought in consultants with each one of the disabilities that we cater to in The Last of Us Part Two. We had multiple consultants on that game. So a guy that I worked with, Steve Saylor, very popular these
Oh
days.
yeah, 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 yeah.
He's getting it these days. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he is.
But he worked with me too on The Last of Us Part Two. He was one of the low vision consultants they brought in. He
Nice.
was instrumental on the high contrast mode that exists in the game. So a guy that I know named Paul Lane is also he was the motor impairment consultant that they brought in. So he was instrumental on the single button stuff and making it easier for someone with motor impairment to play with either one or two buttons at the
Mhm.
most. So yeah, and button remapping too. He was helpful in that too. So yeah, it was a group effort, a giant team effort. And keep in mind too, Naughty Dog themselves is composed of a lot of people,
Mhm.
that and a lot of coders and designers and programmers and everything. And all these people were behind this. This wasn't just like we have one guy that's interested in making this game accessible. No,
Mhm.
I did really well in my first meeting with them because every person wanted to be a part of this.
That's cool.
So yeah,
And I think it goes back to your passion and enthusiasm, as Nicole says, because it lights a fire under people's asses.
that's the point. Like when I went there, when I went to Naughty Dog for the first time, when I went to that studio, I knew that the reason I was there was to sell myself.
Yep.
I had to convince them not only that they could make the game accessible, but that I was the right one to help them do it. So that's what I did, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked, man.
Absolutely. Yep. Danny McKenna, yes, you are true. Um, I was gonna say super blind man. Brandon here already pointed that out just several minutes ago. So sounds like yeah, I guess you could say that, Nicole. She says it's kind of similar to the genes in a body and the DNA,
Yeah, I mean,
like modifying. You can't do it after the fact, but
right,
going
right.
into it.
Yeah, if you do it after the fact, you'll end up with deformities. Whereas
Or
if you do
yeah.
it right away, you'll be fine. There you go. That's a good analogy.
Yeah. Even a big toe colon. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's kind of funny. Danny says he would rather have a massage by Freddy Krueger than try to have accessibility implemented after the fact.
Well, yeah, it's about as painful. It's about as painful.
I really want to because I hear so many people saying, well, just add accessibility. If you could go into a little more detail about just how difficult it is from a coder's perspective, programmer's perspective, of why they want to implement or include accessibility in the beginning. Like, if you were to take The Last of Us Part 2 with no accessibility, what's the time length of developing that game versus implementing the accessibility either?
If you wanted to take The Last of Us 2 from zero to
Mhm.
where it is now, it would be, number one, insanely cost prohibitive.
Right.
Naughty Dog is a development team composed of, I believe, 300 or so people. I think. I don't quote me on that, but I think it's around 300 people, and all those people would have to rework on the things they already built.
So
Because keep in mind, a lot of times different groups and different teams are put in charge of different systems in the game. Even if you have a bunch of programmers for a game, I mean, these are big games, and each team is going to be in charge of one part of that. And so, what a game is ultimately is a bunch of the individual efforts of multiple teams coming together into the single package that is the game. They have to make that smooth. They have to make that work. They have to make that seem like it is one thing that you're playing instead of a bunch of little things that were put together into a thing. And they've already done that when a game is built. They've already done that. So if you want to add a level of accessibility like The Last of Us 2 to a game that's already built, you have to break it all down again, because these things are integrated into the game systems themselves. They're integrated so deeply that you can go into the options menu at any time you're playing Last of Us 2 and change any of the options. You can turn them off. You can turn them all on, and it's built in that way. It's built to be that way. It's built so that you don't have to reload the game every time you change an option. It's so complicated. I don't know if I've gotten it across very well, but there's a lot to that.
I want you to boggle people's minds who have no idea or have some idea about coding and programming and development, because it isn't just that easy to do.
Yeah, I see people all the time going, oh, well, if they just add audio cues, and yeah, I do that to a certain extent to developers too, but that I do it as a suggestion.
Right.
Other people do it out of anger, like, well, just add audio cues. No, you can't. It's actually not that easy, because if you're not making audio games here, you're making games that are built in 3D giant environments, in some cases open world environments. And when you add anything, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a new animation or a new sound effect or a new anything. There has to be loads and loads of markup done to that thing to make sure it is in the right spot, played at the right time. It's not just putting in a sound in a game. It's scripting, lots and lots of it.
Yeah.
And depending on what that audio cue is supposed to signify, it may require the modification of a system to add a new variable that says only play this sound when, or play this sound if. There's a lot to these things. It's not as simple as throwing in a WAV file and we're done. We added an audio cue.
Maybe if the game was static in the sense of you got point A to point B, that might be able to work in some, jury-rigged type of format, but not when you've got, like you said, basically a real world, 3D environments.
If your game is a visual novel, then sure, it can be that easy. Fine.
Yeah. Add
audio cue to this section, done.
Yep.
Play this sound when this section appears, then you're done.
Yeah.
But most games these days aren't. I'm not saying visual novels. There's a fine market for visual novels, and there are a lot of accessible visual novels too. So, but for the most part, it is a lot harder than people seem to think it is.
So, Last of Us Part 2, as it is now, from starting point to end point, how long did that take?
For development or actual playing the game?
The whole... Oh, not playing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Development.
Development, they started developing Last of Us 2, I believe, in... I want to say mid-2016?
Okay, so we're looking at almost 4 years.
4 years of development, yeah, approximately.
So if you guys think about this in the chat, if you take away accessibility, you still got those 4 years. Now you go back to try to add accessibility, you got an additional at least 2 years.
Probably, because you have to break the game all the way back down again. You make a lot of people mad that way.
Yeah. So there's a good example for you. All right, back to chat. Is that Natalia? Who's Natalia? I don't see that name in here. Anyway, Streamlabs. Oops. We don't need to read Streamlabs. Which is really weird because it just started working yesterday. Interesting enough. I love... What's this? Danny McKenna says... I love your middle name? What the hell is it? Okay, your... Oh, middle name.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll accept it.
I don't know what it is.
I take compliments even if I don't understand them.
Yeah, why not? It just makes everybody's day brighter.
That's right.
So Blind Toe says, I'm still watching the playthrough. You did a playthrough, didn't you?
I actually have done more than one.
I think it's in your Twitter name, isn't it?
Yeah, everything, every Last of Us video that I've done is on my YouTube channel. If you want to see every single video that I've done covering the game, it's on my YouTube channel.
Awesome, and I will be sure to put that in the description box for people after the show. Yeah, very true, Danny. And we did discuss that a little bit too. He was talking about how if you add accessibility after the fact, you'll get all those errors and conflicts in environments.
Because you're trying to build in systems that weren't meant to work with what you've already built.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, yeah. So you got any upcoming projects that you know about that you can talk about, or?
And not that I can really talk about. I mean, here's what I can say. Number one, I can say that don't worry, I ain't stopping anytime soon. Number two, I can tell you this. I did a consulting workshop at the beginning of this year with Ubisoft. and they are a developer of many, many games. Developer and publisher of many, many games. Big games, small games. They love their franchises over at Ubisoft. They're a French and Canadian company primarily. And I did a consulting workshop with them, and nothing has been officially announced. So I'm not officially signed on to any project, but I can say, because it is out there in the public, so I can say this. The workshop itself went very, 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 very well. And I believe that I caught the interest of some of their teams. So we'll see what happens.
That's really cool. Yeah, I remember. I think it was you that called me out on the spelling error that I had when I had interviewed. What was her name? Celia. Anyway, she works with Ubisoft, and I had tagged her because I had interviewed her, but it came out to be Ubersoft, and I was like, "Oh,
Ubersoft."
I thought that was you.
It might have been. It might have been. I don't remember that though. It might have been. I hope so. I hope it was me. I don't remember if it was or not, but I hope it was. That sounds like something I would do.
Ed Davis, welcome Ed, says, just so I'm clear, is it better to create accessibility? Oops, I'm on letters. Clear, is it better to create accessibility in from the start or after?
It is 100% better to make your game, develop your game with accessibility in mind. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, think about maybe refurbishing or retrofitting your house. Like the house is already built, but now, oh, look, the environment, the EPA or insurance says, well, now you got to have an earthquake-proof house. You're just better off buying a house that's brand new with that than trying to go back through it and
right. Otherwise, you have to tear down walls. You know, it's the same concept. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
I like using the house analogy, especially for like thinking. Blind Toes asks if you wait. Sorry. If you had one game to choose from that you'd really want to put accessibility in, what would it be?
Oh man, I can only pick one.
I know which one I'd go. We all know that. Grand Theft Auto.
I mean, sure, Grand Theft Auto would be a fine example, but I mean,
Liam's almost there with it.
For me, I love his mod. Don't get me wrong, but even he will acknowledge that his mod is not meant for like playing the story of the game, and that's what I would really want to do if it was me.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I really want is one of those really massive, 100-hour-long role-playing games. That's what I want. If I could add, if I have to pick one, I will pick The Witcher 3. Because I've heard people say that The Witcher 3 can be played for something like 300 hours if you do all the side quests and everything.
Ooh, damn,
I want
that's
that.
A game.
That's a game right there. Yeah, I heard someone describe The Witcher 3 by saying you can be wandering out in the middle of nowhere, find a house, a little house out in the middle of nowhere, go investigate it, and then you're on a 3-hour-long side quest line.
Wow.
That's The Witcher 3.
I love the open world concept of video game. It makes it seem endless.
Yeah, right.
The way things can be structured. So I really love that. From the beginning. I don't know what that's for, Danny. Because you've had editors, you have to go back through. Yes, Danny, we discussed that. Hashtag nightmare. Very true. Ed Davis says, I'm not a gamer, but I'm just asking, are most games made accessible now?
No. For the most part, the answer is no.
Yeah.
There certainly are some games that are trying some new things, but mostly no.
Oh, I was going to bring this up earlier. I might be wrong on this, but I heard someone start up the game for the first time and it automatically clicked on text-to-speech or accessibility for blind people. Mm-hmm. Is that because Naughty Dog incorporated The Last of Us into the console to recognize which accessibility setting you have on the console?
That is correct.
Awesome.
Anyone who starts Last of Us Part 2 in the US and has text-to-speech enabled on the system will automatically hear text-to-speech as soon as they fire up the game.
Yeah, it's really cool, which is unfortunate for the UK and I believe other regions.
Yes, it is. It is unfortunate, but even for them, there is an easy solution, which I've been telling all my UK Last of Us 2 players.
Oh, what is that?
So the first thing that happens when you start the game is it opens up the accessibility menu right away.
Oh, okay.
Just in case you want to turn anything on. If you press the down arrow, as soon as you can hear the the background, you'll hear like a boat moving up against a shore in the background. As soon as you can hear that, press the down arrow one time, and you'll be on the text-to-speech setting. And even when it's off, the text-to-speech will announce that you're on the text-to-speech setting, so you can turn it on easily.
That is really cool.
So they thought of the UK and other regions really as well. Cool. If you think that's cool, I think it's amazing. I can't believe I can say this. Even the text-to-speech in The Last of Us 2 is localized to multiple languages.
Nice.
That's amazing. No other game has ever done that.
Wow. That is, so it actually detects your consoles?
I mean, no, it's based on your region. It's based on your region.
Yeah.
So like, but you can switch if you want.
Okay.
You can literally choose the text language and the voice language, and the text-to-speech will mirror whatever you choose.
Yeah. Yeah. Danny McKenna says Resident Evil. That would be a good one.
Resident Evil. Yes, indeed. Some of the Last of Us 2 features that I helped put in the game were actually inspired by Resident Evil 6's weird design choices that made that game mostly playable.
Huh.
So,
Nicole says she wants to play Red Dawn Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption, you mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Red Dead Redemption. I agree. That series is tremendous. I would play that if I could.
Some games are, but not enough, says Danny. Danny says, cool, Nicole. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about your other stuff you got going on. You said you're a voice actor.
Yeah, I do. I haven't done a whole lot, but my big credit for voice acting is a commercial game that is available right now. Unfortunately, here's what sucks. The game that I am in that is available now worldwide is also not accessible. But there's a game called Pillars of Eternity. It's a role-playing game made by Obsidian Entertainment. And I am several voices in that game, including a voice that you can choose for your own character. If you choose Benevolent Male as your character voice, that is me.
Right on.
I am also several voices in the expansion content for the game, including an ogre, a mercenary, a demon, a necromancer's apprentice, and a couple other ones. So
awesome. How'd you get into voice acting?
I've always been into it. It's always been a passion of mine. Ever since I grew up, when I was a kid, I watched my actual first inspiration was the Disney's Aladdin movie. Robin Williams in that movie just blew me away, even as a little kid, and inspired me. And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Him and Gilbert Godfrey in that movie, just
it's always been a huge passion of mine.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Let's see, Danny. UK sucks. Only because he lives there.
UK sucks. I'm sorry, Danny. But there is a way. There is a way. Just press down.
Yeah, just press down. I interviewed a while back Audio Gaming Club for blind gamers all over the world. I think that's the YouTube channel. But he's been doing a full, complete gameplay walkthrough of Last of Us Part 2. And
awesome.
He's also in the UK too, but
see, I told you there's a way.
And yeah. And he was saying just how emotional the game is.
It's very heavy. It's very heavy. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to play it later, but it's very heavy. Or watch my playthrough. Just know that it's very, very heavy.
Yeah, I was thinking again about, I keep going back to the accessibility of it. Like, I remember hearing a part where you're riding the horse through like a village or something, and just all those audio cues that would have to be placed in after the fact, including the 3D audio. It's just, it truly is mind-boggling what can be done by developers these days.
And keep in mind that the 3D audio was built to support the audio cues built for the blind as well. So if something is below you and it's an audio cue for the blind, it'll still be heard in 3D audio.
Mm-hmm.
That's the care they put into that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let us hear those voices, sir, says Nicole.
Let us hear those voices. I mean, I got a bunch. What do you want? I could do where TV's Peter Griffin. Very popular voice over out there. I could also do Mort Goldman, if you like.
Oh, gosh. That show is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love Family Guy.
Have you seen F is for Family?
Yes, I have.
Oh, my gosh.
Bill Burr, man. Bill Burr is very good at yelling. That's a good way to describe the whole show, actually.
He's straight to the point and hilarious about it, even when he's wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. So there's a new show on Netflix now called Hoops. It's a new cartoon about a
Hmm.
basketball coach, and you can tell. At least I think this is my opinion. I guess I could be wrong though, but I think that I'm right. Um, that for the main character, they were trying to go for kind of uh, a same but different F is for Family kind of situation because he yells all the
Hmm.
time too. The problem with Hoops is that it doesn't have he doesn't the actor that plays the main character does not have nearly the same level of sarcastic tone
Yeah.
and ability to yell and project that at the same time that Bill Burr has. Bill
Is
Burr
that
makes F is for Family work because of his tone.
that's not Michael Rappaport, is it?
I can't remember. I can't remember who
Okay.
the main actor is.
Danny McMcKenna says, I wonder if the PS5 is going to be more accessible on console than rather than games. That's
We'll
kind of an
see.
odd thing too, because you need to have both really to recognize accessibility, and then they have to talk to each other.
Yeah, ideally, that's what you want. Yeah. I have pretty high hopes. I don't have any concrete proof, but I have pretty high hopes, and I have reason to believe that I believe that it might be better, but I don't have any actual thing that I can show that proves that.
I wish they would release patches too for older systems, but I know that's just
That's highly
like,
unlikely these days.
yeah. Oh geez, okay. Geez. Oh Jesus. Here's Blind Toes' question for you. What kind of cake or pie would you throw in my face?
In your face,
He asks everybody that
I
question.
recall that you may have been a fan of coconut.
Exactly. My
So there you go.
favorite.
Coconut cream, just for you. Why? Because
I
I'm nice to my friends. Even while
yeah.
I'm pieing them in the face, coconut cream.
Oh man. As far as yourself goes, have you had any dabbling in development or coding or programming?
Very little. Very, very little.
Okay.
I know enough about programming to understand the basics of how things work.
Mm.
But I've only done a very little bit of programming myself. In fact, the only thing I've ever made was a couple little silly games that are actually still on my website for some reason. I should probably just, I don't know. I guess people still like them. They're really silly and dumb. It'll take you like 2 minutes to play anything that I write. But it's, I also made a number generator that's not available anymore. But my number generator was cool because even though it was just a random number generator, if you tried to generate zero, it would yell at you.
Nice.
That's the, I mean, that's the thing. Everything I do, everything I write, and everything I coded back when I was coding had to have my sense of humor in it in some
Yeah.
way. And that's just how I work.
That sounds very, very familiar. So, did you have a lot of issues, or was there pretty much an understanding between you and development teams making things accessible? Because I know,
I
like, a
mean,
lot of developers could
certainly,
have their little god complex or whatever.
yeah, and you have to, like I said, you have to go into it with an open mind and the willingness to think outside the box and be the solution guy.
Mm,
Because there will be naysayers, even amongst the teams, you know, you can't make everyone happy all the time. So there will
right.
be naysayers. There will be people that are like, there's no way we can pull this off. And it's those people that you really want to talk to. It's those people you want to say, actually, let's talk about it. What
Hmm.
can like what's the limitation here that you see, and can we work around that?
Yeah.
And it's those people you want to talk to. It's those people you want to convince. And I did a little bit of that. Yeah, even in The Last of Us 2, there were people that at first weren't sure we could pull this off, but we did it. So what else can I say? Like, there's nothing bigger that I can say than but we did it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about? I've seen a lot. Well, I don't know. There's a good percentage that's caught my radar where people say they want basically a God mode, or um, I don't know, something to basically make it really easy for a disabled person to play. Versus, I'm only going to use blind people as an example because that's the only experience that I
Yeah,
personally
understood.
know. I would much rather have the game as is plus the accessibility and none of that God mode, or because it really takes away the
So
challenge.
so here's my thoughts on that. I actually might have a unique perspective then, because here's what I think: if a game is not intentionally built to be accessible to the blind,
Mm-hmm.
in that case, I will still accept things like God mode and then cheats
Yeah.
and things.
Yeah,
because
no doubt. Yeah.
because
yeah,
that's a
you're
case
right.
where there's no other way that we can really enjoy the game, and I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll have
Yeah.
what fun I can with the game. Like Ninja Gaiden 3 is a great example of that game.
Ninja Gaiden. Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden 3 is fully playable if you're blind.
Yeah.
But the reason it's fully playable is because you can't die on easy mode.
Right.
So, but it's fun. It's still fun. Like, I still had fun with it, so it's fine. But if a game has accessibility features, then that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
There
there should be no reason you couldn't play it like anybody else.
Yeah, we want. As far as I'm concerned, we should want to play like everyone else. And I actually, you didn't ask this question, but I'll tell you anyway. I actually had to fight a little bit to keep certain things from happening that would make the game easier. I had to stress multiple times during The Last of Us Part 2's development that we're not looking for easy mode. We are looking for accessibility. We want to be able to play it, but we are okay with challenge.
We don't want the pity.
Yeah, we don't. We're not looking for pity. We want. If we're playing on a hard difficulty level, then guess what? It should be hard.
Yes.
And it is. I think we did a fine job of balancing accessibility with difficulty.
Yeah, I think everything that I've seen, it's been at least 98% or even greater of positivity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going very well. I mean, it is. By the way, just yesterday it hit a landmark, and this is not just an accessibility thing, but it's now a talking point that I can use, so I'm going to use it. Just yesterday, The Last of Us 2 became the most completed game on PS4. The most people ever have completed The Last of Us 2 more than any other game on PS4.
That's just everybody.
Yeah.
Disabled or not.
Everybody. But the point is, the disabled are part of that.
Yes, exactly.
We are now a part of that statistic. And we can say that. We should be proud of that.
That is
everyone who's played that game should be proud of that.
Cool. Exactly, Nicole. She says a game with no challenge is not fun. It's like cheating with a way out. I agree.
Yep.
Streamlabs,
and The Last of Us 2 is very configurable, by the way. Like, if you want no challenge, you can absolutely make that happen in The Last of Us Part 2. There's so much configuration you can do. You can just turn on unlimited ammo and unlimited crafting and just have fun.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Danny says, I remember younger developing games on the Commodore. Wow.
That's before my time.
That's ancient.
Yeah. I'm too young. I'm a youngin'.
I did a story a while back about the new Atari that's supposed to come out.
I heard about that.
Huh?
I heard about that too.
Man, it's supposed to be coming out for the last 4 years. They did a GoFundMe or whatever quite some time ago, and nothing. Units were supposed to be delivered to those backers 3 years ago, and it's just been.
I wouldn't put too much
going on.
I wouldn't put too much hope in that.
No, especially when they say like, "Oh, it can backplay games," but they don't really mention anything about new games. I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock in it. There's a lot of things like that, like the whole thing with Soulja Boy and his fake game consoles he was selling. I can't believe he got it. Soulja Boy, the rapper.
Oh Jesus!
Got into the fake game console business, and he tried to sell it like it was his own thing. Like, I made this thing, and it can play Nintendo and Sega games, and it has all the games on it and stuff, and you can play them all, and it's really cool, and just pay me $200.
Wow.
What
was he selling? A link to an emulator?
No, he was selling a device, but it was a device he had nothing to do with the device. He worked with a company that was making illegal consoles in China, and basically bought some of their stock and sold them.
Wow.
As his own console.
Jeez.
So good times. Good times.
Yeah.
If you have a let Soulja Boy money,
You guy's a moron anyway.
I think he was officially sued for those consoles though.
Good.
Yeah, he's out of the game now as far as I know.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no, absolutely intended. What are you talking about? I never make a pun that I don't intend. Never ever.
So speaking of consoles, what is your personal favorite? Oh, wait. Blindness. How long? What is you blind to? Acuity. Vision acuity.
Totally blind.
Okay, so how long has 100%. That been?
Essentially since I was born, although that's not the real answer. The real answer is I was born with retinoblastoma, which is a inherited cancer of the retina. So technically, I could see for 2 months, but I don't remember any of those 2 months. So it doesn't really matter.
Ooh, have you heard of the artificial retinas?
I have, but that wouldn't work for me because they had to remove my entire eye.
Oh, gotcha.
So, yeah.
So I get, how many consoles have you been able to play?
Oh boy, I mean, I've been gaming all my life. I've played on everything from starting with regular Nintendo. Yeah, I played on everything.
So you did it just by, because I know those old game consoles, they're pretty much memory anyway, so you can kind of play a game based off memory because of the sounds and the effects and that sort of thing. Which was
there's very little change in older games.
Yeah. Which was your favorite console, let's say, in the what year were you born?
86. I was born in 86.
So that pretty much starts it off. What was your favorite game console to play?
I mean, I love gaming now. That's the thing. And now that I'm in this position where I'm actually working in the game industry, I love it even more.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about like growing up as a kid, I'm probably going to go with my N64 because it was the first console that was actually mine that I owned. It was my N64, and it was that means something when you're a kid,
Absolutely.
It was my console. I brought my friends over to play my console and my video games, and it was it's just there's something to that, and those are the memories that I have. I think that the most fond memories of is my N64 playing Killer Instinct Gold and WWF Warzone, and Attitude. Yeah,
that's cool. That is cool. What do we got here? 430 blind toes. Is there any plans for an accessible blind toes? I think you meant. You forgot the N there. RES? RTS, real-time strategy game. None that I'm aware of, although there's a lot of people that I want to work with that make RTS games. I'm trying to get in with Blizzard lately, and I'm having some success with that. I have the attention of some Blizzard employees because of my Diablo 3 content. So if I get in with them, I will definitely push for, hey, if you make another Warcraft, make it blind accessible, and here's how you do it. Didn't Jesse just do, not just, but maybe last month do one on Accessibility Spotlight for Ages of Empires?
Yes, indeed. Because Age of Empires Definitive Edition does have really, really good... Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, by the way, has very, very good narration implemented into it.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly good. Which is weird, because Microsoft has been really lax on adding more accessibility than narration lately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I've personally, if you look at my Twitter timeline, if you go back a bit, you'll actually see that I have actually gone after Microsoft because I feel confident enough that I can do that and get away with it. I have gone after them for their refusal to keep pushing forward with accessibility and just implementing narration. Like, oh, we did it. We solved blind accessibility narration. And by the way, it's only in the first menu of the game, but it's there. So we're done now.
Why do you think that? That's what I've noticed as well about Microsoft.
That's what their games are doing mostly. But Age of Empires is the exception to that. Age of Empires has tremendous narration all through itself during gameplay, during the cutscenes even. It's ridiculous. That doesn't necessarily make the game playable.
Yeah, there's a few things here that I noticed about.
Yeah, narration alone isn't enough, but it's still worth mentioning. Like, I'm still glad Jesse did the video because it's still worth mentioning that narration is there and it's that good.
Yeah.
Because that is actual progress. That's what a step forward actually looks like. The rest of Microsoft.
Right. Yep. Danny says, I'll try to play a game even if it's not accessible. I'll give it a try.
So will I. I'm the same way.
Yeah. I mean,
we always try.
How do we know unless we try?
I call it blind gamer tenacity. There
you go.
We are gamers. We want to game, and we will attempt games and try to find workarounds, even in games that aren't designed for us. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like Danny's got the same eye condition.
Oh, cool. We're retinoblastoma pals.
He's got an artificial left eye.
I have both artificial.
Would you make an accessible Mega Man game? Here's Blind Toes.
So the way that question is phrased makes me want to answer it a very specific way. So I will. Would I make an accessible Mega Man game? I would work with any developer that would work with me. Any developer at all. Even developers that I've been angry at in the past, I'd work with. Because my vision for this work, my dream of this work, is to bring accessibility to as many places as I possibly can.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me at all if the game that I'm working on is a game that I would even play later.
Mm-hmm.
If I totally despised a game for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I mostly like a lot of games. But if for some reason I didn't like a game, I would still work on that game and make it accessible if I could. Absolutely,
cool.
I would. No question. See, now you brought up the passion. You brought the passion out.
Danny, what is RT? Oh, RT, real-time strategy.
Real-time strategy,
Danny.
yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm going to go back to Escape from Tarkov because I'll just sit there and listen to people play it all. Yeah, it's just...
Are you a Dr. Lupo fan? I am.
I don't know. It never really piqued my interest that much. I'm really more of a special ops type of, and then also real difficult logical thinking, mathematical thinking type of games.
No, I meant Dr. Lupo as in the streamer, the world famous streamer Dr. Lupo who plays Escape from Tarkov all the time. That's okay.
I haven't caught his.
Okay, I'm a fan of his. He's a really good. He's really good at what he does.
Is he?
There's a reason he's like a bajillionaire. You know,
Dr. Lupo. I will definitely.
He's on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dr. Lupo if you want to check him out.
Speaking of Twitch, and what do you use?
I use Twitch too. I stream on Twitch live and then I archive my videos on YouTube.
And you use just the Twitch dashboard, or do you have like a secondary broadcasting program?
I use OBS to broadcast.
And you're totally blind?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
I've been having see, when Google Hangouts went away the connection to YouTube, last year I was trying to find a way to go live continuously, and the first thing I tried was OBS, but I was having such a damn difficult time.
Well, the thing of it is, it's number one. It depends on how much you want.
Everything.
It's right. If you want the bars and like the here's the tips jar and like all the fancy stuff. That stuff, if you want to put that up there, I mean, you need site assistance for that. No question. Right. And I'm lucky enough that I have a sighted fiance, so she did that stuff for me. But once it's set up, it's very easy to use on your own.
So it's got the scene.
It's controls. The setup that's the problem.
Yeah. That's why I got into using Ecamm, because I could do everything myself.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Totally with you.
I got you. Okay, just answering that question. Well, cool. Anything else you'd like to bring up regarding anything you got going on? What do we know? We got the voiceover stuff, your voice acting, excuse me, plus the.
Yeah, I also do a podcast. Could bring that up.
Hit it up. What's the address?
Well, before I do that, I want to talk about what it is. It's called the Breakdown Walls Podcast, and it is just one part of what we call the Breakdown Walls movement. It's a movement that myself and my fiancée Misty have created, where we strive to bring together disabled and non-disabled gamers, streamers, and just generally humans to be supportive to each other, to help lift each other up, and to just be nice, kind humans to each other. It's something we care a lot about, and the Breakdown Walls Podcast is a part of that. Because what we do is we approach video game news. So you have your typical video game news podcast; they're everywhere. But we approach it from the angle of, first we tackle it from the angle that everyone expects, just video game news. Then we tackle the video game news again from accessibility perspective. So it's kind of cool that way. Anyway, you can find that the Breakdown Walls podcast and the more information about the Breakdown Walls movement at breakdownwalls.net. Break down them walls. And if you want to go specifically to the podcast page, breakdownwalls.net/podcast. But you can also listen to the podcast directly from the main website page, the front page of breakdownwalls.net. There's a player on there. So there you go.
Do you have a website besides that that's just basically everything of yours?
I do. Of course I do. Of course I do. That is www.brandoncole.net. You can find my blog there. You can find my reviews of some games there, my first impressions of some games that I've had some opportunities to work with developers early. You can find all that stuff there and more. You can find my social links, although I'm pretty much Super Blind Man everywhere. If you want to follow me on Twitter or something, Super Blind Man, it's Super Blind Man. You'll find me. And yeah, Twitch Super Blind Man, YouTube is Super Blind Man, everything. Awesome. I don't know if it's cool with you, but I also have a Patreon.
Dude, yeah, this is your show right now. You get to share whatever you want.
Okay, so so I created a Patreon because not just because I'm a Twitch streamer, and a lot of Twitch streamers do that. I created a Patreon with the idea that if you support my Patreon, you're supporting literally everything that I'm doing. You're supporting my ability to go to events. I mean, obviously, when COVID is not so much of a problem, but that's what you're doing. You're supporting literally the everything that I'm doing. You're supporting my podcasting. You're supporting my Twitch streams. You're supporting my ability to go to events and to studios and to talk to developers and conferences and speak at places and whatnot. That's what supporting my Patreon means, in my opinion. That said, I've tried to provide some decent perks that are also entertaining. So, like for instance, if you become a $10 patron, you can get a monthly. So one of the things I do, I write poetry. I write silly, humorous poetry. And if you're a $10 patron, you can request a poem from me of any theme you like, and I will write it for you every month. And not only that, $10 patrons get invites to our Netflix parties we have every month. A party at the end of every month for $10 patrons to an exclusive patrons-only Netflix party. Cool. Where we watch different things every month, and we watch them together, and we talk, and we laugh, and we have a good time. That can be found at patreon.com/superblindman. There's a lot of different tiers and a lot of different perks, so if you're interested in anything that I do, that's how you get involved with that. There you go.
That is cool, man. Thank you for coming on. We'll give it just a couple minutes to see if there's any last questions. We all know the YouTube delay, so...
Yep, I'm familiar.
So, yeah. Man, it's been really cool having you on. I really appreciate us connecting and you coming on.
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's been good. I appreciate you your willingness to have me on, because this stuff means a whole lot to me. If you can't tell from our conversation, it means a lot to me. And I really believe in spreading this message of accessibility and inclusivity and all the things that we're doing as far as I can. So yeah, this means a lot. Yeah.
And what's really cool is, like, there really is no negative aspect to accessibility, no matter what it is.
No, everybody wins.
Yes, everybody wins. So I've seen this kind of here and there, but do you get a lot of negativity about trying to implement accessibility for whatever it is?
Not a lot. Certainly there is some. Because there's people who are like, oh, but you made the game easy. No, we didn't make the game easy. You don't have to activate those options if you don't want to use them. You know, there's some of that floating around, but it's not that bad. It's not as bad as you might think. Mostly, it's been positive.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Do you ever plan to extend beyond advocacy and accessibility on games to other areas that need accessibility?
Actually, I already have.
Oh, sweet.
I already have. I've worked directly, and I'm still working directly with Twitch itself, the streaming platform, to make their platform more accessible. So, yes, I'm part of that.
Awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, I actually have an article up on my site regarding accessible streaming. And so, yeah, I was trying to get the attention of developers and programmers for that.
Yeah. Indeed.
Oh, Jesus. They're doing the Carolina Reaper Cheese Ball Challenge again.
That's not happening with me. I ain't doing it.
Yeah, Nicole asked me this morning, what would it take to get you to participate in the Cheese Ball Challenge? I said, one of two things. Either a date or on my deathbed, because I'm going out anyway. Might as well go out hot.
There you go. There you go. Oh, yes. I love it.
Okay, there are no questions, so I'm going to let you go ahead and get out of here. But again, I really do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can have you on again in the future. Maybe talk some game stuff.
Absolutely, man. Just let me know. I'll be around. Awesome. You know how to find me. Superblind Man everywhere.
Right on. Yes. Thank you again, Brandon.
Yep. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks everybody in the chat for participating as well. It's much appreciated. Until next time, everybody, don't forget, this has been Theory of Blind Man. Love is blind. Keep it blind.